Coming to you from sunny Orlando, Florida, welcome to the Paperstac podcast, where we cover current topics in the note industry, give you tactics for your note business, and talk with industry leaders to make you a better note investor. And now, your hosts, Brett Berkey and Rick Allen.
All right, welcome back to the Paperstac podcast. My name is Rick Allen. My co-host and very charming and handsome man is Brett Jonathan Berkey.
Yes.
How you doing?
Hanging.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So here we are. We're in December.
Yes, that's very true.
It's that time of the year where if you have kids, you know about this. You've got the elf on the shelf.
Yeah, the elf on the shelf came early this year for me. Yeah.
It's so tough. It's so tough. What happened?
So the day after Thanksgiving, I was taking the stuff out of the attic and, I was handing it down to my wife. And we have two elves on the shelf. Because I don't know why, but we have two. And so I saw one and I was like, my daughter was hanging out on the floor and looking at the Christmas stuff. And then so I hid the one right behind the corner. I was like, okay, I'll come back for that on November 30th. And so I hide this one and I came to take something out of the attic. And all of a sudden, right next to my daughter, the elf on the shelf fell and it just landed there. And I was holding the box. She's like, Twinkles is here. And I'm like, and I looked at my wife. I was like,
Twinkles?
And I was like,
Twinkles and
Sparkles. And so I was like, what the hell? Where did that come from? She's like, was she in the attic? I was like, no, I think she heard us with the Christmas stuff. That might have attracted her. And so she's like, oh, cool. And then she went in and got chocolate and wrote notes. And I messed up one night playing hide and go seek, where I'd move her she'd go count.
So you have to go move the elf on the shelf. And so now
because she said once a day, but I was doing it.
And so when did yours get? It was before Thanksgiving?
Yeah, it was the day after Thanksgiving. So I was
so you tacked on an extra 7 days of moving the elf.
Yeah. And I was like, dang it. And then so today the other one came. So now I got two that I'm having to move around at night. It's just
ours is Chuckles. Chuckles, he showed up this morning.
Yeah. I almost forgot. My wife last night, she's like, don't forget. And then we had a late Paperstac meeting. And after that, I went to sleep. This morning I woke up, I was like,
you forgot. Yeah.
I forgot.
You do it. So,
all right.
Anyway, so we're going to, top topic today is we're going to cover working with a financial calculator, the 10BII calculator. And then I'll show you a spreadsheet that we use. When you see the spreadsheet, it's there's a lot to it. It's something that came whenever we were with Note School, and it kind of we built on top of it and started adding more stuff. So it's pretty intimidating. The 10BII, you're going to look at it and say, okay, that's much easier to use. So we'll get into it. Right now, what we've done is we found an asset on Paperstac. What we're going to do is we're going to look at the 10BII and we're going to look at the spreadsheet. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to look at an asset that we pulled up on Paperstac. This is one of MWM's assets. And this one here, you can see the purchase price is $48,000. What you want to do is you want to come down and you want to start figuring out all the details of the loan. So I'm going to go right in here to the 10BII calculator, and I'm going to plug in the purchase price is $48,000. I'm going to plug in the purchase price is $48,000. Let's go back there. And you want to make this a negative, or you want to make the payments a negative. I always make the purchase price a negative because I think I'm spending it. So I'm going to hit negative, and I'm going to hit the this is the present value, PV. So I plug that in. I'm looking, and I've already started playing with this. You can see the actual principal and interest payment is $372.29, and we're going to do that for the payment. There's 262.6 payments left. 262.6 payments left. And now I want to figure out what's my yield. So I just hit I. And that's going to tell me that right now, if I paid $48,000 for that, it's going to be a 7.49% yield. So 6.5% interest rate, figuring in the discount, and it's going to give me a 7.49. So if you're one of the people like we've talked about on your on prior podcasts, where you're like, look, my target yield, you've got a target that's higher than 7.49. I'm going to go ahead and say maybe my target's 10.
Okay.
Very easy to do once you've plugged in the numbers. You literally just type in 10 for the interest rate, and then you touch present value, and that's going to tell you what you need to purchase the asset for in order to get a 10% yield. And there you go. You need to buy this asset for $39,620.98.
That's pretty exact.
Pretty exact. And you'll see it on there. You'll see a lot of bids on there that are exact because they know what their yield's going to be. Now, if you're going to figure in servicing costs and stuff like that, you would obviously calculate that into your equation. And we're going to go down here and look at this estimate. And we see that this house is worth roughly by Zillow's $164,300. Take 15 grand off, call it 150, right? We'll just build in some cushion. So you can see you're in a really good position where they've got equity in the property. They only owe $52,093.47. Total payoff is $52,386.30. That sounds like there's an escrow shortage in there, or it's the bankruptcy, so it could be the remaining balance due on the bankruptcy. So let's go ahead and let's look at this calculator. We're going to plug the numbers into the calculator. As you can see, I've already kind of got them in there. $150,000 is the asset value. You have to mess with it a little bit. This one obviously has had some payments, so I'm just going to put in the principal balance, the interest rate, and that's going to generate this number here, which is $372.29, pretty exact. The term is 263 payments. That's how much is left. No payments have been made. And then I'm going to put in there that there is about a 263. I'm going to say that there's a balloon of 263, which tells you that there's negative $148.67. Basically, that means that it's not quite 263 payments, not quite 262 payments. So you'll see something on Paperstac where it says 262.6, where if I go back and I look at it, go back and do that. And basically what you want to do is write down here, I see if I'm buying it at a 7.5% yield, it's going to be roughly $47,000. If I want to put in the 10, it's going to get you to $39,620. So not exactly what it was on, actually it's pretty darn close. It's 12 cents off. So there's a lot of ways to get there. This calculator set is pretty beefy, pretty impressive. There's a lot of things you can do in here. Calculate, the start date, the term, what's the end date. We've got some monthly housing expenses. So you can figure out DTIs. And then down here on this calculator, you can look at, note quote partials. If I'm going to quote a partial on this thing, it'll tell me what I paid for it, what my yield is. And then there's a lot of other stuff in here. It'll give you the actual purchase price. It'll give you a purchase partial chart. Tells you, what's the payoff, when am I getting it back based on the numbers you put in. Gives you amortization schedule. So a lot of different stuff on this particular spreadsheet. It's a pretty beefy spreadsheet, kind of intimidating. I think it's always easier just to go ahead and use the 10 BII because you can plug the numbers in, and as you see, it is very, very easy.
That's pretty interesting, Rick. I mean, that's a beefy calculator.
The calculator is beefy. There's it's packed full of stuff, and we've added so much stuff on top of here. Like most of this stuff over here, I've added. On the inputs over here, the partials chart. There was just one, and we added a bunch of other ones in.
What are those different types of yields or offers or?
Right. So you're like, okay, well, what if I want 18% yield. Just butcher it. This is gathering all the data from it gives, okay, that's what it's from. It's from, there's these 3 different charts here. So it's a bit, I haven't used the partial stuff in a long time. I have to go back through and refresh it. But at the end of the day, this is really what you're looking for. This screen right here, because you can do a lot of different things in here. If there's a wholesaler in there and they're making a profit, say you're brokering a deal, you want to put $3,000 on the deal. Well, that means then you got to buy it from the seller for $36,620 in order to sell it at a 10% up here. If you're like, okay, well, what happens if I bought 50 payments down here? And that's going to tell you, well, that's a 9% yield. That's your interest rate. Okay, well, what if I bought 100 payments? All right, well, that's a 13% yield if you're going to get it for $20,000. So there's a lot of different ways that you can use this calculator. I use literally this part up here, everything above the quote partial, this is where if I'm using it, this is what I do. But most of the time, I'm here on the 10BII because it's super easy for me to adjust my interest rate and give me like, hey, where do I need to pay? Where do I need to buy this deal? Right. And you can work your numbers backwards and forwards. You can kind of get in there and see, does this all tie out? You plug in all just the standard information. And, it's like, okay, well, it was a 6.5% interest rate. So that should be roughly what the payoff is. And if you go back and look.
What does the PV stand for?
Present value. What am I buying this for? What's the present value? That's what this is. The number of payments remaining.
And the I or YR.
Your yield.
Your yield.
Mm-hmm. And then the payment is that, like I said, important things is to make sure that you make the present value or the payment negative, and whichever one you make negative, you make the other one positive whenever you're plugging that information.
All right. So to recap for the people that are watching this, do you mind? Because that was a lot of information thrown at them.
The 10BII, get that calculator.
Right.
I think it's $10.
It's worth it.
It's worth it.
Can you do it? Maybe just do the whole thing on this calculator one more time, just for me, so I can see. So because I watched it the first time, I need to see it the second time.
Just for you. Okay, we can go look at. How about this? How about we find another asset in there? Right. We'll just go pick out another one.
1,000 keys.
Let's look at 1,000 keys. We'll look at this deal right here. Okay. So we're looking at this deal, and we see that it's deed of trust. It's performing. Origination date was August 26, 2022. So this one is fairly straightforward. It's had a few payments. So let's go ahead and start plugging in the numbers. So they want to sell it for
71,100.
71,100. So 71,100. Right?
And
So I'm going to make it a negative. I'm going to put it into the present value.
The present value is $71,000.
Right. And now the principal and interest payment is $774.47. 774.47. That's the payment amount.
That's the payment amount.
That's the principal and interest payment amount. Okay. So the number of payments remaining is 357.
Okay.
And that's going to tell you. So right now it's got a 9.9% interest rate. When I hit this, you're getting a 12.77% yield. Right. So if I wanted to hit 14% yield, that's my number. It's a newly originated loan. I just want to be there. I'm going to put that into the interest rate and say that's what I want to hit. And then I'm going to hit present value because that's what I want to pay for it, right?
Right.
This is our purchase price. And it's going to say, okay, if you want a 14, you got to buy it for $65,327.08.
I got it.
You got it.
I got it. Okay, so I'm getting it. All right, so that's really cool. And the good thing about what this is doing is that it's taking away the not knowing, like it makes you an educated buyer. Like when you're doing it like this, it's not, there's no emotion.
So another cool thing you can do with this is you can kind of back into a price that you can sell something for.
Okay.
On if you're going to do owner financing.
Owner financing. Okay.
So let's say, there's a deal that came across my desk. House is worth $200. Property they're selling it for $119,900, so $120,000.
Okay.
And it doesn't really need much work. They put a bunch of work in there if you're going to go ahead and rehab it and try to get max dollars on a flip. But what you can do is you can sell this to somebody, owner finance.
Right. Okay.
So, there's a lot of people out there who are unbankable, but they've got money to put down. So if you look at this, so let's say there's a $200,000 house you're going to sell it for. You're going to owner finance it, and you're going to take $20,000 down.
Okay.
Right. So your loan that you're making to somebody is going to be $180,000. Right.
Right.
Make that there. Put that to present value. Next thing you want to know is, okay, what can they afford? Maybe they can afford $1,000 a month. Right. We'll make that our payment. We'll give it to them for 360 months. And that means you can charge them an interest rate of 5.3%. That's okay, but it's not great. Well, let's look at what happens if we can go ahead and find somebody who can afford $1,500 a month for the payment. Next thing you know, you got a 9.4% interest rate.
That's good.
You can charge them, right?
Right.
If you want to then say, okay, well, I want to sell this. I want to know that I'm going to be able to sell this at a 12 to somebody because I know I want to push it out. I want to make it go quick. A a 12% interest rate. Somebody's jumping all over that. If it's a performing loan, they got 20 grand in the deal. Go ahead and type in 12, sell your interest, put it as your interest rate, and then type present value. So now you're going to sell the loan, $180,000 loan for $145,000. Well, you're into it for $100 because we took 20 grand down. You know, maybe you're into it for 105, we'll say, because you had some closing costs, odds and ends, marketing costs. That means 105. Real easy math. 145 minus 105 is $40,000 on $120,000 investment. You know,
that's huge. What is it? I mean, that's huge.
But it allows you. What this does is it allows you to sort of back into numbers and figure out how are they going to work. Right? I backed into the payment. Where do I need this payment to be? What kind of a borrower am I looking for? Somebody. Obviously, we want to have somebody who's got money down, but we're using this to kind of show us, okay, the payments, interest rates. Let's do this. What if we do a shorter term, right?
Okay.
So a shorter term, I'm selling this 145. I got to sell it. I make it find somebody who can make a 10.95% return on a shorter investment.
Right.
So there's a lot of different little options in there on what you can and can't do. And it's just the 10BI is such a powerful calculator. It's just, you know, there's tons of financial calculators out there. I love this one because it's on my phone and it's kind of dummy proof for what I'm using it for.
Yeah, no, I downloaded it. I'm gonna.
That's it. So that's it, man. That's you know, there's the spreadsheet, there's the calculator. At the end of the day, they're both powerful. That's how you can kind of back into your numbers, know what your yield's going to be. It'll tell you where you need to put your offer in there, and it'll give you a little more insights on actually submitting offers and really understanding as a seller. Then, okay, where am I probably going to end up selling this? If I'm looking for somebody who's happy with an 8 or a 10 or a 12, and you'll have all those numbers there. And that way you can, you know, structure your deals up front the right way. You can have an idea when you're selling it, what you're going to be selling it for, and it allows you to put together a package and market it.
That's awesome. And so these deals you just put on Craigslist or something like that, and they go, or Facebook Marketplace.
Yeah, there's a lot of different ways to get it out there. Right now, that should be like the least of your worries.
No, I'm just saying
marketing something.
Yeah, along with marketers.
No, but there's a lot of different mediums out there that you can start pushing out your deals through. But it all comes back, tying it back in. It's all really about the calculator, understanding how to use it, and understanding it's a very powerful tool.
That's awesome. Really, Rick, that was really eye-opening for me. I'm sure eye-opening for some of you guys out there, guys and gals. If you have specific questions about the calculator, I would say there is a tutorials when you download the app, they have a YouTube channel that it links to. If you just go and hit the little the hamburger menu is what they call it, the little 3 lines, and then you'll see it'll have a link to tutorials. Mm-hmm. And it goes through everything from doing an amortization schedule, understanding future value, like every little aspect of it. I haven't got very far with it, but I definitely think it's something that if you're an investor, that's just like a must have. You know, like this is part of your, you know, that's just very important to have. So that's it for this one. Hope you guys got a lot out of it. Yeah, well, if you have something that you want us to cover specifically, remember Rick's the smart guy that's got all the answers in his head. And then if you're looking for more education and want to really ramp up your education, we do have the Academy. You can pay in 3 payments. I kind of got Rick mentioned that we finance it for you. And
we'll finance it for you.
Finance it for you. You can do it 3 payments, but it gives you access to ask questions specifically on the videos. The calculators that Rick's using are actually in there. You know, like there's a lot of tools that we have.
That exact calculator is not there because it's not mine, so I had to read.
Oh, because you got that.
Yeah, because that's somebody else's. I don't want to sell somebody else's stuff.
Oh, that's the.
I have a condensed version of it that's, you know, will do just about everything you need it to do. I can't imagine you're going to get in there and say, okay,
that one's a little beefy.
That was a lot.
Yeah, so.
But I still use it.
That's good. Yeah. Well, good stuff. We'll see you guys on the next one. See ya.
Alrighty, bye.